You're on.
Come on. Hey, welcome to Facebook Live again, guys. It's Monday. We've all survived the weekend. With me is the man that wrote this. Oh, here we go. Get your shit together, Greg. This book, don't stress about it. Just get it done. Stress Teflon, Luke, mate. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. Very well. Nice to be back on a Monday. All days seem the same at the moment, but it's nice to be here.
I'm definitely looking at my calendar and watches more to see which day it is and what date it is. So, mate, just hitting up the old Stress Teflon book today. What topic were you looking to chat about today?
Well, I had a really interesting conversation during the week. As we talked about before, we started a podcast that is called Reset. And I had a guy who is a professor in evolutionary psychology, which is a cracking, really, really interesting thing about how we do what we do because caveman did it pretty much. And he wrote a book called The Social Leap. And I had a chat to him last week, and it just reinforced a lot of the things about how our old brain runs the show when it comes to stress. So I thought we might have a little bit of a chat about that.
Nice. Can you still see me, Luke?
Yeah, I can.
I can't see anything, so we'll just continue on.
You can't see anything?
No. That's okay, though. Let's not worry about it. Let's move on.
Okay. You look good.
It says Zoom, so...
Say again?
Looking at a picture that says Zoom, but we're on live, so let's keep moving.
No worries. Yeah, so one of the key things that made me write the book Stress Teflon was basically about how stress, our bodies aren't and our brains aren't designed to deal with the environment we're in now. Bit of that, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about there?
The old brain, new brain, because our brains. One of the things I learned from Professor Bill, who I spoke to during the week, was that our brains from about 3.5 million years ago, when we were the human-like species back then, was a thing called Australopithecus, which is about the size of a 12-year-old. And Australopithecus had a brain that was about 350 grams. So it's a pretty little. And in between Australopithecus 3 million years ago and us, we've now put on about another kilo and a bit of brain. All right. So our brain just hasn't got bigger. All right. It hasn't just got all the bits of it haven't just got bigger as you'd expect when something grows. We've actually developed new parts of our brain.
Okay.
And then the new parts of our brain are mostly in the front and mostly around the outside, the cortex. So it's basically, if you imagine the Australopithecus brain was here and we've added this whole new layer on the top, which does a whole lot more of the really intricate thinking and the detailed stuff. And that, what I call that in Stress Teflon is I call that the new brain. So we have the old brain and the new brain.
Yep. I do love that too, mate.
It is good, isn't it? So we have an old brain, and the old brain is there to keep you alive.
Oh, can't it? Like it just jumps in and goes, hey.
This is what we got to do. Do it. Go hard. Get away from whatever you got to do. Something scary. Turn on and go hard. And it doesn't have any nuance. It doesn't have any subtleness.
It's got no nicety about it.
No, it's got no nicety. It's all about keeping you alive. And most of the anxiety and stuff that people are going through at the moment is their old brain going out of control. Their old brain. Anxiety's there to make you pay attention. Yeah, 100%. Every time, the moment you start feeling really anxious, and people get really worried about that. And anxiety is a thing. And once it gets really, really bad, you have to see a mental health professional and get it sorted out. But for the majority of people, anxiety is just your old brain saying, pay attention. You got to take notice of what's going on here. And you've got to sort your shit out somewhere.
So if you're getting mental cloudiness or brain fog as part of your stress, is that your old brain or your new brain?
That's kind of your new brain coming offline, because there's a big connection that connects your two brains. All right. So your old brain and new brain are very intricately connected, but your new brain uses a lot of energy. You've got to pay the rent on that, and it needs a lot of energy to do it. And one of the things that happens when you get into a really stressful situation is your body will conserve energy. Okay. Right? And one of the things it does, it takes your new brain offline. All right. Which is why I say you're in an argument with someone and, you need to be working on your game and being able to say the thing you want to say right at the moment you want to say it. If you're too stressed, you never come up with the line that you need to say or the retort that you need. You think of it in the car on the way home and go, oh, shit, I should have said that and it would have been good. And it wasn't. And
Not
the
that we're
reason,
looking for that type of environment or that type of action right now.
no, but it's
What's happening?
yeah, your old brain is very defensive. All right. And when you're in a really stressful situation and when you're marinating in those cortisol and the stress hormones, and those hormones are staying high for a really long time, the two things that happens is your old brain takes over and you become defensive and you become dumb. You don't think of solutions, you only think of problems. You don't see challenges, you only see threats.
Okay.
All right. And that's what's happened when we've got too much cortisol flooding our old brain, and our old brain is just running on fear and running on stress hormones.
So these stressful thoughts are an important signal for like a cortisol release in the body.
They are.
Yep.
They
So
are.
do you just want to drop a couple of little mindfulness-based stress reduction things we can do, or strategy we can do right now before we kick on any further around that?
Yeah, my favorite one with that, and there's a gentleman at Princeton University in the States called, and he also was at Harvard, and his name's Judson Brewer. If you ever want to learn anything about habits and stress and cravings and stuff, Judson Brewer is fantastic. And he talks about some really, really cool things. And his main thing that he gets whenever you're feeling something like that is to get curious. All right. The first thing we do is go, oh shit, this is bad. All right. And what the oh shit, this is bad is your old brain having the first crack at whatever the problem is.
Okay.
All right. Every single time.
How bad is it? Your old brain, the action of it, or the new brain going, well, let's just pull up a bit here?
Well, that's the thing that can come from both. So
Okay.
the stress can come from your new brain, just thinking, oh shit, am I going to have enough money to pay the rent? That's then like a top down. That's our old brain feeding stress into the new brain feeding stress into the old one. All right. But the moment you get curious with that, because the hassle is once you start feeding into the old brain, you get into a thing called an old brain shitstorm. And an old brain shitstorm is basically something's bad. Yeah, I really think it's bad. It's definitely bad. It's terrible. And then you're going round in circles and you're in this spiral where you can't find a way out. All right.
So you're saying you've got these stress-provoking thoughts.
Yep.
You need to replace that worry or that anxiety with like a focus or acknowledgement on something emotional.
Yeah, the word there that you use is acknowledgement, and it's a really good one because you can't get curious about something until you not acknowledge that it's there. Yeah, so it's a bit like
you keep calling it an old brain shitstorm or something. You're in that.
Yep.
What are you acknowledging? What's making you acknowledge that you're in that for us people at home?
Well, you look for the physical cues. You're going to get your knots in your stomach. You'll be shallow breathing. You'll find yourself tensing. Your mouth will go dry. Your tongue will be on the top of your mouth, and you'll have tension. You'll be breathing into your chest when you do that. You'll notice that when you're stressed, you'll breathe in. It'll be shallow breaths up the top part, whereas when you're relaxed, you're just breathing into your stomach and your diaphragm's going up and down, and your chest isn't moving. So noticing some of those physical symptoms is a really good sign. And then get curious, and particularly catch yourself when you're catastrophizing. When all you're doing is, by catastrophizing, I mean, something's happened, someone's cut me off in traffic. You could go two ways. You could go, oh, someone cut me in the traffic, they might be in a hurry. Or you could go, they're an arsehole and sit up their ass and toot the horn all the time and stuff like that. And one, the problem goes away straight away. The other one, it turns into something that's much bigger.
So you're saying instead of becoming like an objective observer of your stressful thoughts, think about that instead of becoming a victim of your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a really good way to put it, actually. Yeah, very good way to put it. That you can notice what's going on. I can notice that my stomach's getting, I'm getting butterflies in my stomach. Okay. And instead of just running with it, butterflies in my stomach, shit, that means bad. Stop, get curious. Okay, well, does it mean bad? Am I feeding this machine, or am I going to stop and take a little breather? Because remember, cortisol's there to get you out of trouble. All right. It's there to make you be able to run. It's there to make you fight or flight, but it's not meant to stay there. And that's the hassle.
Long period. So we want to deal with what we need to and then bring it back to where we want.
Bring it back down. That's where your calm stress support is a really, really cool product that you guys have. You got a little bottle there, Jay?
Of course, I'm not going to do a blatant product.
Yeah.
Ever do.
But this stuff is really good because basically what it does, it stops your cortisol levels from flattening at that really high level, and lets them spike when you need them to fire up, but then pulls them down nice and quickly, which is what the blueness in that does.
That's all. 5 hours, kids. Like that's what it's all about.
So what that does, if you imagine cortisol's got a half-life, it stays in there and it takes a fair while before half of it goes away. What your stress support does is shortens that half-life. So it goes away quick. Your cortisol goes away quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happens really quick. So, but the other ways to do that and things like that work really, really well. But getting curious, I think, is a big one. To stop and think, okay.
Have some of these mindfulness-based stress techniques on your website?
I think I do. I'm not too sure. Dr. Craig's probably the one to go through for some of that. He's got lots of that sort of stuff on there as well.
I'm trying to think what his website's called. 100X. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to have a look.
You'd probably just go through it. You go through the body science Facebook link, and both between Dr. Craig and is it Alex? He does some really good ones with that.
Clever, yeah. Two different approaches. One's very scientific and one's very vegan.
Yeah, so the vegan touchy-feely and the science, but that's one of those cool things is you can take little bits out of all of them. Some of them will hit home for you and some will be great. Other ones you'll think, yeah, that's too far left. I'm not going that way. So, you know, everyone learns in their own way, I guess.
So Luke, when you're getting stressed, do you try and become aware of it when it initially triggers, or do you try and deal with, like, let's be honest, if something's really stressing you, no matter how many times you tell yourself you can't get it out of your head, like some people the shit just stays in your head.
Yep.
And changes and you have 1,000 battles before the battle even happens, and the battle may not even happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mark Twain said a great thing that you know, many bad things have happened in my life. Some of them actually occurred.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. Exactly.
It's a really good line. So
where in your life when you're talking to people and you do a lot of public speaking in relation to how to deal, you know, things to do to deal with stress, etc. When do you notice a trigger? Is it when you go like, I've been thinking about this for 5 hours now, I'm in trouble? Or do you in it you do, like, obviously not every thought you have is a lovely thought, as much as that would be. Do you
remember I do live in Lukeland, which is a place where unicorns fart rainbows and the world is a wonderful place.
Well, the people we need this. We need these type of thinkers. So what I'm trying to say, excuse me for swearing, everyone.
I get in trouble for dropping F-bombs all the time on these.
I drop one myself. When you become aware of your stress and that trigger, how deep are you into your stress when you go, I'm in this shitstorm, I'm going to ring?
Yeah.
How, like, we all have stress in our life and it's acceptable. We've all got different heights and levels and types.
Tolerances.
Tolerance is a good word. What is it for you, and when is it for you that you actually go, I need to deal with this right now?
Yeah, my first cue is always my stomach.
Okay.
That little tightness in just underneath your rib cage and in your stomach. In years gone by, I used to just treat that as hunger and ate. So yeah, it just felt very much like hunger pain. So I would just eat.
They probably go away when you ate too, to be honest.
Yeah, they probably do. Because remember, eating does stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system, which makes things calm down. But
waking up during this COVID-19 era, and every morning they have that in their gut when they wake up.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think one of the things we've got to look at with this is that everyone's in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. Some of our boats are a little bit smaller and a little bit leakier than others, but we're all in the same boat. And to get away with your expectations that you had pre-COVID-19 is probably a really big one. But I think that one of the things that happens with me is I start ruminating. I'll roll the same thing over in my head. And we've talked about ruminating a few times on these lives, and it annoys the shit out of me when I do it. Sometimes I have a little book next to my bed. I have a little moleskin book. I don't have one here, but I'll write in that whatever's worrying me, and I'll say I'm going to worry about this at 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. All right, that's one of them. The other thing is when you get those voices in your head that are yabbering away and sort of saying this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. You've got to sort this out. The moment you try and push those voices away, they just get louder. All right. So a really good way, and Dr. Judd Brewer talks about this, is allow those voices in, but have them further away. Have them as a little voice that's right at the back there. Have them imagine it further away, and oh yeah, there's that voice. It's still there. It's just going further away. I meditate a lot, and particularly meditating after exercise, which we might do a full live on that one.
Big thing you're really into, isn't it? And you want to try.
I'm right into that. I'm talking to a few different people at a few different unis at the moment. I want to do the science on it because no one's done the science.
Yeah, Dr. Craig Duncan, he's probably the man.
I haven't. I should actually have a chat to Craig about that. That would be really good. But the general gist behind it is you do exercise and your brain produces a chemical that fertilizes your brain to change itself, in the short version of it. So if you are ruminating and you're really worrying about something, if you can then meditate and work out how to get that, when that thought comes in, to take it somewhere calm, then you're less likely to ruminate on it.
So let's just say we're in an environment, we're on a Zoom call or whatever it is, and I can't piss off and go meditate. I can't turn on something else. Should I start with some deep breathing techniques to assist through? And is it a case of the earlier you get it or acknowledge it, the better result you get?
Way easier the earlier you get it. Yeah. Try and work out what your feelings are. And a lot of the time you'll almost have to reverse engineer it. So work out what you do in those times when you've been really stressed and go back to think of what your feelings were before that. Because a lot of them, you'll just do things automatically. Like I used to eat automatically. I can't quite work out how to do this. I've got writer's block. I'm stuck on this. Oh, I'm going to go eat.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Because I felt uncomfortable that I wasn't being able to do whatever I was want to do. I even find if I've got some technical issue with my computer that I can't sort out, I suddenly enough get hungry. And it's that stupid swapping the stress of not being able to sort out what you're doing. And then, okay, I'm going to do something else. So find out what your go-to thing that you do is, and then reverse engineer it. What are the feelings I was having before that? My feelings I having before that were frustration. My feelings I was having before that was I had writer's block and was getting annoyed at myself, or I was ruminating. And then just stop and try and take yourself away. In a work situation, when you're on a Zoom call and you have to stay there, the best thing you can do is just stand tall and breathe. Just get your shoulders back, lift up, and just practice breathing through your diaphragm. All right. You can't stand in front of a tiger and be big and breathe if you're in full blown fight or flight. All right. So use your body language. There's a two-way connection between your body and your old brain. And if you sit there and you do this, you see people when they're nervous, they'll do this sort of thing. And they'll touch their face and they'll be all like that. All of that's pulling that. It's making you're being small. And the moment you're being small, you're then feeding that old brain to say, okay, we're in danger here. We're under threat. Jordan Peterson tells the story of in his seven rules for life or whatever it is. He talks about lobsters. Yeah, and lobsters are a 300 million year old thing. They've been around for a long, long time. They haven't changed a lot. So the lobster's nervous system has similar stuff to what we have. It works on serotonin. We talked about serotonin, which is pride from inside hormone. And a lobster has a fight with another lobster, all right, and it'll slink away and it'll get small. If you go and inject it with serotonin, it'll get big again and go and fight the same lobster that just kicked its ass. Stop it. So just standing tall and being big will give you that pride that I've got some control over this. I'm okay. Calms down your stress system, uploads your pride system, and okay, I've got hold of this. I can connect my brains again.
So could you just scoot back a little bit and actually show us on the screen what you're talking about?
With the brains?
No. Just scoot back and show us standing tall. Like, what does that mean?
I'm going to lose my head if I do that. But
like when we do your arms, what are you talking about?
If you can do that, I've often talked to people before they do, people who are like CEOs and stuff, before they're going to talk for thing and tell them to go into the bathroom and go somewhere and just be big and breathe. Stick their arms out wide, shoulders back, big deep breaths. And you can't do that if you're in an old brain shitstorm. All right. And what it will do is that your body saying that I'm big, I'm strong, I'm okay, will tell your old brain we're all right. We can't. Okay. Your body goes like this. It tells your old brain we're under threat. Yep. And you can reading body language with people like that is amazing. You can see when people are worried. The biggest one is crossing their arms and going like that. That's just full on. I'm in protection mode. I remember going on the Today Show to talk about stress is a good thing, and I watched it back, and I spent the whole time biting my bottom lip because I was shitting myself. I'd never been on Today Show or anything like that. I was absolutely shitting myself, and I don't. Once I got into it and started chatting and had a chat to Carl and all that sort of stuff, it was all great. but I watched my body language when I watched it back and went, oh yeah, I was shitting myself. I do two things. I do things like bite my lip and do that same thing where I touch my face. And I also get really, really Aussie. I don't know why. The accent gets all a little bit Aussie and I get a little bit blokey. So, but that's just one of my go-tos for stress. And when I start hearing myself sounding like I've just come out of outback Queensland, I know that I'm probably a bit stressed and I need to slow down and calm the farm a bit.
It's all about slowing down, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It is. But I guess the main one we've got to work out with this is what's feeding the old brain, what's feeding that fear response. Is it something that you're rolling things around in your head? Is it something that's a new brain generated fear? And the thing you were talking about with the hands, if it's a new brain generated fear, it's like pushing down and it creates tension anywhere. If you put the smart part of your brain to go to work on fixing the problem, it alleviates a lot of that pain. The first step you got to do with that is get curious. Get curious about what's going on in your body and get curious about what's going on in your thinking.
Mate, is that getting curious part of being the happiness side of it? Or when you say getting curious, what do you mean? Like challenge yourself as to why am I thinking about this? Will I care about this in 2 days? That type of, is that what you mean? Or
those sorts of things, or just to be noticing what's going on. What's, why am I feeling this tension? Am I extrapolating this problem? Am I making this problem bigger than it needs to be?
Yep.
What is the chance of something happening? There's a thing called the worry pie, which a guy from Princeton developed, and he worked out, he got all the things that people worried about, and he worked out which ones came true and which ones didn't. And 85% of things that you worry about don't come true.
Wow, 85.
85. All right. Of the 15% that do come true, 12% of them come true, but they weren't as bad as what you thought they were. All right. Only 3% of things that you're worried about actually come true and have the same detrimental effects as what you thought they would have, or worse. So it's only 3%.
So get rid of that 97% of that shit, acknowledge it, deal with it.
Yeah, acknowledge it's there. There's a lot of, and I've actually noticed that in people during this COVID-19, and particularly now where it's all kind of calmed down a little bit. We're not watching the news for 4 hours a day like I was a few weeks ago. Everyone's calmed down a little bit more about it. And you can kind of see that, okay, well, we did the right things and we flattened the curve and all of that sort of stuff. But, most of the things we were worried about, no one ran out of toilet paper.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Everyone's bum's clean as a whistle. So no one ran out of toilet paper.
3 months worth of toilet paper. How can they deal with that stress?
Did you hear about the guy who went to Drake's and he bought something like 5,000 packets of toilet paper and went to go back for a refund? Unfortunately, the manager at Drake said, go and get, please go away. Yeah, sell it somewhere else, suffer, which I thought was pretty cool. But I guess the main one is to understand.
Place.
Yeah. So I guess the main one to understand is when you are in that old brain shitstorm, when you are in that emotional thing where everything's just tightening up and you can feel those things in your body, just stop and get curious and just try and find some perspective.
Yeah,
nice. Right? The sun's going to come up tomorrow. There's still people out there that love you. Life's still all right. You've still got toilet paper. You've still got a roof over your head. We're so lucky we live in a country where our government looks after us as far as things like healthcare and job keepers and all of that sort of stuff. I spoke to some friends in the States during the week, and they just get no help at all. If they can't pay the rent, they get kicked out.
Yeah,
I mean they don't have the sort of things that we should be really, really grateful. And having a bit of gratitude and putting things in perspective is always a pretty good way to calm down your old brain.
Okay, cool. Well, mate, anything else to add here? Like where are we at?
I think we're pretty good on that. We might have a little bit more of a chat about that in the Fork and the Stress Show tomorrow.
Yeah, beautiful.
Too easy.
LukeMathers.com.au if you want to have a chat. Download the book on Spotify.
Yep, you can get it on Spotify. There's also on Spotify, you can get the Reset podcast, and you can actually listen to my interview with Bill Von Hippel. I'll put a link on there.
Cool, good. in
the comments. It's a fantastic chat. This guy's one of the smartest people I know, and it pretty much gives you a 3 million year history of how we got to here in about 40 minutes. So it's a really, really good chat.
Come to mind, Susan Nerves. Get on Body Science, have a read about it. If you want to know about the key ingredient blueness, Google balloonists. You'll love the fact, lots of research, human research as well. We know it lowers cortisol because they've done research on it. We're not just saying it. So to everyone who's out there, have a fun night. Catch you tomorrow. Luke, thanks for everything again, mate. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, buddy. See you tomorrow.
One piece of smart information for us right now.
One piece of smart information. Find someone in your tribe and hug them.
Love it. Let's go home and hug someone. See you, mate.
See you, buddy. Bye.